I found out my brother has been stealing our parents' retirement fund for years, so I didn't let him get away with it. I found out my brother has been stealing from our parents for the last 3 years, and honestly, I am the only one who knows. My brother Mark has always been the golden child of the family, even though he is 32 and still lives in their basement while working a part-time job at a comic book shop. My parents are in their late 60s, and they are the kind of people who would give you the shirt off their back if you asked for it. They worked blue-collar jobs their whole lives and saved every penny so they could have a comfortable retirement. But lately, they have been complaining about how expensive everything is getting. I went over to their house last Tuesday to help my dad fix a leaky faucet in the upstairs bathroom, and he mentioned that he was worried because his savings account was lower than he expected. He thought maybe he had just miscalculated his property taxes or something, but he looked really stressed out about it. My mom was in the kitchen making tea, and she looked older than I had seen her in months, with dark circles under her eyes. She told me they had to cancel their anniversary trip to the coast because they just could not swing it this year. It broke my heart because they have been talking about that trip for a decade. Mark was sitting on the couch playing video games like he does every single day, and he did not even look up when I walked in. He just made some comment about how the economy is trash and how lucky I am to have a corporate job. I ignored him and went to work on the sink, but I realized I needed a specific wrench from the garage. When I went down there, I saw Mark's car door was open, and there was a stack of mail on the passenger seat. I know I should not have looked, but the top envelope was from my dad's bank, and it was already open. I picked it up and saw a withdrawal slip for $2,000 that had been processed just 2 days ago. My dad has never withdrawn that much cash at once in his life. I started looking through the other envelopes and found credit card statements in my mom's name with thousands of dollars in charges for designer clothes and high-end electronics that I have never seen her wear or use. There were also several pawn shop receipts tucked into a folder. My stomach dropped into my shoes as I realized what was happening. Mark was not just living for free, he was bleeding them dry. I took pictures of everything with my phone and went back inside, trying to act normal, but my hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped my tools. I watched Mark during dinner, and it was sickening to see him eat the food my mom worked hard to buy while he was literally robbing her. He was complaining about the steak being overcooked, and my mom just apologized and offered to make him something else. I wanted to scream at him right there, but I knew I needed more proof if I wanted my parents to actually believe me, because they always take his side. The next day, I waited until Mark left for his shift, and I went over to the house. I told my mom I left my sunglasses there and went down to the basement. His room was a disaster zone, filled with expensive gear that he definitely could not afford on 20 hours a week at a comic book store. I found a hidden lockbox under his bed, and after trying a few obvious combinations, I got it open. Inside were my mom's jewelry that she thought she had lost years ago, including her grandmother's engagement ring. There was also a debit card with my dad's name on it, and a ledger where Mark had been tracking how much he took each month so he would not get caught by a sudden big drop. I felt like I was going to throw up. He had taken over $40,000 in 3 years. I packed everything back up and sat on his bed for a long time just staring at the wall. I knew if I told my parents they would be devastated, but if I did not, they would end up broke and on the street in 5 years. I decided to wait until Sunday dinner when the whole family was together, including my sister, who usually stays out of the drama. Dinner was tense from the start. Mark was bragging about some new limited edition statue he had pre-ordered, and my dad was quiet, just picking at his potatoes. I waited until my mom started clearing the plates, and then I just laid the phone on the table with the pictures of the bank statements pulled up. I told them we needed to talk about where the retirement money went. Mark's face went from smug to ghostly white in about 3 seconds. He tried to say I was faking the photos and that I was just jealous of him, but I pulled out the ledger I had swiped from his room. My mom started crying as she realized her jewelry wasn't lost, and my dad just sat there looking like he had been punched in the gut. Mark started screaming at me saying I was a traitor and that he only took the money because he was depressed and needed to feel something. He actually had the nerve to blame his mental health for stealing from our elderly parents. My dad finally stood up, and I have never seen him so angry. He told Mark to get out and not to come back until every cent was repaid. Full story on the channel, link below.